Everybody, we are back. It is Save Your Lives Favorites Podcast, Favorites Channel, Favorites Everything. We are back. You guys already know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Let me get to it. Subscribe. Hit the like button if you like it. Hit the dislike button if you don't like it. Leave a comment if you like it. Leave a comment if you don't like it. Also, follow us on Twitter at the Mark John NFL for me, at Glen Rockney for Glen. And of course, as always, pandasups.com, TDL discount code for 35% off. Use that TDL discount code for 35% off. All right, Glenn. So today we're going to be, it's more sports center. It's more like this could be more like a part of the interruption today. We're going to do like a little conversation on some things. Of course, take you guys' questions and, whatever questions you guys have for us. We're going to be doing that this week. So, Glenn, how you feeling, man? How you feeling about the Raiders coaching staff is over? It's ready to go. We're combine ready. Let's say that the combine's next week. We're ready to go.
We got, Marvin Lewis, assistant head coach. Keeping Scott Turner on staff, which I'm not against any of these things. It was just interesting to see on a chart, and also of course Edgar Bennett back, which that felt mandatory. I was hoping that would happen. I feel good. I'm really optimistic. There's a lot of Raider fans that want to take away my February optimism, which that's all I get as a Raider fan. You will not take this away from me. You will not do. If we don't get a quarterback at 3, the season's over. Let me come to that conclusion in October.
Exactly.
You cannot take this from me. So again, I am feeling optimistic, more optimistic than normal though. This is a different year for me, I feel like.
Yeah, because the same people telling you that they're probably hyping up Jimmy Garoppolo. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear any of that. You know what I mean? You're hyping up Jimmy Garoppolo. You shouldn't be, getting down on this team. They actually overachieved, to be honest. So there is a lot of optimism to have. I thought it was interesting that Scott Turner was still the passing game coordinator because, we didn't really hear his name with anything. Yeah. So they obviously didn't want him to go. So, and then they bring in Lutz Getsy. And then, they have a running game coordinator as a linebacker, which I thought was super interesting.
Yeah.
Linebacker coach. But Marvin Lewis as the assistant head coach is pretty cool. I really like that because I kind of can guide Antonio Pierce. I like that he had a game management coach. I don't know if that's normal or not. Maybe that is. Maybe that's something around the league right now. But let me know, guys. But I thought that was interesting because I didn't think Josh McDaniels had a game managing coach, did he? I don't know.
I remember wasn't that a thing? Wasn't that a thing? Perhaps it was a thing before that in the NFL. I remember it first being brought to light. Not comparing in situations here. Nathaniel Hackett, when they had the opener against Seattle, when Hackett's year with the Broncos, where they had that weird clock thing at the end that resulted in like a record-setting field goal attempt that was nowhere near. And I remember him saying like, we're going to bring in a clock management or game management coach now, and everybody laughed at him. But I'm like, well, if we're going to have a huge roster like this and we're going to have a huge operation, billion-dollar team, and a first-year coach, I like the awareness at least to be like, I don't know everything. We've been saying that about Pierce, but I think he's pretty transparent about what he knows and what he doesn't know, and he's not coming in there with that like nervous cockiness that other coaches come in with. He's cocky in terms of energy because he did already transform the energy of the Raiders. It already happened. So, but all this other stuff, like with the nuts and bolts, he's going to need a little help.
Yeah. People are talking to me about T. Higgins right now. Yeah, I guess I missed that tweet. My dreams were ruined. It's still, the trade is alive, but I guess they want to give him $21 million. So, but hey, it is what it is.
Would you have that 21? Would you have given him 21?
Probably. Right now with the cap, that's probably what you have to give him, right? If Raiders fans want to trade for Brandon Ayuk, we're gonna have to give him $21 million too.
Yeah.
Who's the better player? That's my thing. Who's better? But because I know Brandon Ayuk, that buzz with him and Jaden Daniels, which he's still not the quarterback yet. We can't jump the gun here, but it's gonna be super interesting to see what they do this offseason. I just thought Scott Turner being there because Joel Philbin's there too. And then who else is helping them on offense? There's a lot of help on offense behind Getsy. That was, I thought, was kind of interesting. Maybe that's something Cliff Kingsbury didn't like. So I
Also,
wonder.
the
Go ahead.
Scangarello, is that his last name? That everyone Raider fans got so mad this week when he got hired as quarterback coach. All it took was a Google search of looking at who his quarterbacks were in his NFL career: Jimmy Garoppolo, C.J. Beathard, Nick Mullen. I mean, there's not a lot there. You had whatever the Broncos were trotting out there when he was there. Now his stuff at Kentucky with Levis's regression, that's interesting to look at. But there's help. I don't hate the offensive staff. There's help there. It's going to be handed over to Getsy. We'll see. We'll see. But I'm that Kingsbury thing still scared me a little bit, man. I don't know. We'll wait and see on that one how he does in Washington.
He's like, I don't want a passing game coordinator. And we're like, no, Scott. Scott comes with it. Do you take Scott or do you don't? Because we never heard anything about him, and his name just popped up there. And I was like, wow, that is very interesting. Because then you got to think about this too, right? If Getsy does not get the job done, how quick does Scott Turner take that job if he's the passing game coordinator? You know what I mean? It's one of those things with me where it's like, okay, like they have like an offensive coordinator in waiting just in case if Luke Getsy doesn't work out. So,
or if he works out too well.
Exactly.
That's the knock from everybody about hiring a defensive-minded head coach in general, regardless of whether they're the best defensive-minded head coach in the world, is you will always lose your offensive coordinator if they're worth it. What? If they're any kind of good, that guy gets looked. Look, we're talking a lot, but it only takes one huge year for an offensive coordinator. It really does. Like if the Raiders have a top 10 offense next year, Luke Getsy will get interviews for a head coaching job. That's just the way it works. Like people are going to think that's insane right now, but that's the way it works. So for one, you want the next guy. You want like the quarterback coach, passing it. You can hide him on your roster as passing game coordinator, do things like that. But also the fact is, the one thing I think is weird about that is why was he not named coordinator last year then? You had a chance to name him offensive coordinator and they retained him. I'm not against retaining him. I'm just wondering like where he stands in the staff. Like who liked it? Somebody loves him. It's got,
it caught me off guard. I'm like, why is he still here? So because it makes it weird with Cliff Kingsbury, because literally if Cliff Kingsbury came in here and he's like, Scott Turner's the passing coordinator, and he's like, what do you mean? And that because I could do with contracts too, and then maybe he wants more years because of that. I don't know, but I think that was a interesting tidbit that just popped up out of nowhere. That he was a passing game coordinator, and I do like the game management. I saw somebody said something about the Ravens taking flack on that. I like that. I just like that he's thinking ahead like that. Like, hey, I need help with game management.
So even some of the best coaches stink at game management. Andy Reid's not really that good. He's been bailed out a lot on game management. That was the thing in Philly with Andy Reid, is he just was horrible with timeouts, horrible end to half. Like he was just like really bad time management. And I think even some of the best coaches need something like that. And some people take that as AP doesn't know what he's into. The job's too big for him. It's like, no, the problem is if the job was too big for him and he didn't think that was the case, and he couldn't sniff out any part of like a weakness on himself, that would be a problem.
Yeah, man. It's going to be interesting to see what this kind of coaching staff does. Before we get into our topics, I do see a lot of people. This is the talk of the chat right now, so I think we should hit this first before we get into our topics. Is trading for Justin Fields, because Tony Pauline went out there and he just bursts the bubble. He's like, the Raiders are interested in Justin Fields, which, I mean, it wouldn't be crazy to me for them to be interested in seeing how much it is to have him, because Luke Getsy has familiarity with him. It is interesting, the dynamic that they have, though. Is like, how much is Justin Fields like in his self thinking like, oh, it's Luke Getsy, and then Luke Getsy's like, it's Justin Fields. So that dynamic coming to the Raiders is a little weird in my opinion, but it's out there, right? So what are your thoughts on that, Glenn? What are your thoughts?
One of the things people have to realize about Justin Fields is how little we actually know that's not from just Twitter. Like, people just have this narrative about Justin Fields. There's some people that think he is a top 5 quarterback that has been failed by everything around him. There are some people who think that he is the worst quarterback in football. in reality, it's always in the middle of that.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff just comes from like what we think, like it's like, oh, that Ohio State offense was limiting. That's probably true. We see it with Stroud. That's probably true. He's late with the ball. All that stuff is true. But to be honest, like, do we know that they hated each other? Do we know that he hated being in Luke Getsy's system? Is there clips? I mean, Raider fans, I'm asking in the chat, are there clips of him going like, tweeting the eyeball emoji like Josh Jacobs, like make some changes, like stuff? Is any of that stuff happening? Because I just don't. Maybe they love each other.
Maybe they do. It's weird because the media likes to put things out. We don't know how their relationship is, because obviously they're interested. They must have some kind of relationship, right? If there is genuine interest of that thing's there. I mean, we get to the combine, we're gonna find out more next week. Telling you the drinks will be flowing next week, guys, at the Jasmine Hotel. The rumors will be flowing.
You got to drop bombs. You got to drop bombs.
Yeah,
me.
I'm gonna try to get in there. I'm gonna try to get in that Jasmine, man. Get next to Ian, see what he's talking about. Do some ear hustling. You know what I mean? Here's some things.
You got to wear a suit. You got to wear a suit and like a fedora.
I'm trying to get Prime 112, man. I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, you gotta come in there like toothpick in your mouth. Like you gotta really get it. Like slide in on a conversation. I bet nobody's gonna kick you out if you do that.
I know, just slide in, man.
Yeah,
right. Seriously. But yeah, we'll find out a lot more next week. What's going on with Justin Fields and all that buzz, and who really wants him and who's actually really looking for him. We'll get like the Ian Rappaports and all those guys to kind of figure out what's really happening with that. But to me, I mean, you can win with Justin Fields, right? I think if you have a good defense and you can stay ahead, you can win with Justin Fields. The thing is if you get down, is that you are in trouble. He can't pass you out of anything right now. And there's a lot of times when those Bears games were close, and even especially, I think it was his first year in Getsy's offense. It wasn't as much this year, but when the game gets close and he has to get in the passing battle, he just ends up making a mistake. Like he was rushing with them into the games in 2022, because I mean the rushing is nuts on film in 2022, right? But it would get to the point where like, okay, he rushed and got them into the game. It's 28-24, and you're playing the Packers, and you got to get down the field, and that becomes an issue with him, because he's not good in those moments. So you have to stay ahead and you have to play great defense. But if you get down, that's the problem with him. It's like, can he pass you out of it, right? Because when you're up, he can miss a read and then he can just run around in circles, and you could just. It's cool. It looks exciting, but like when you're down and he misses that read, and then it just is. It doesn't work the same. So he's got to become more of a consistent passer up and down the field, and more efficient, because he's really just a run trick pony right now. He run the ball, throw deep, run the ball, throw deep. So yeah. So I mean that's kind of how it is. But you can win with Justin Fields. I'm not gonna say you can't. I don't know how much you can win. But I mean, the real knock on Lamar Jackson is the same thing. I mean, if Lamar Jackson gets down, and I know that somebody could find an instance where he has a great comebacks, but just historically throughout his career, if he gets down, he's not the same guy. And Justin Fields is kind of the same way. So like, front runner, if we're front running teams, we come out, we just bust them out. We beat teams like 35-7, blah blah blah, going on the field. Yeah, Justin Fields gonna look great. Is when we're down 21-7, maybe it's the playoffs or something. And we're like, Justin, we need you.
I get philosophically why they would like him. Like, I totally would understand it if they did the move for, depending on the price. You saw the extension number. I think you tweeted them or you reposted the numbers. He's due for after 2 years, right? Because you get this year and the 5th year. If you trade for him, you are picking up his 5th year option. That's just what happens. But then it's like a 6-year, $238 million extension. That's what you're like. You have to really love him. And I could see why, if Antonio Pierce is coming in, it's like, we're going to be like the bad boys of the NFL. We're going to run down your throat with this offense, and we're going to dominate on defense. I'm going to recruit anybody that I want over here. I'm going to be the coolest coach in the league. Like, this is what the Raiders are trying to do right now. And I actually am for it. That being said, I think Justin Fields goes to the Steelers with Arthur Smith.
You think so?
Yeah.
I kind of feel that too, because I think the Steelers really want him. Because it's just, what do you give up? Like, I saw the second round, man. I was like,
not second. I go third round. I would give this year, as I'm taking the Jim Nagy tweet as scripture at this point. I don't think that there is 7 rounds of great players with this weird off year where you have that COVID year and all that stuff that's happening. I would give like a third and a fifth. I don't want to bring up the AB trade, but that's what I would give up for Justin Fields plus the extension. Like that's what you have to do regardless. Like if you're going to get Justin Fields, I would do a third and a fifth and be like, look, I got to pay this guy a bunch of money. I do get, because even this year, if you look at rookie contracts, like it's still in the 20s when you start getting to year 4. It's not the rookie contract that everybody loves, like the Indiana Jones like vibrant gold thing that you find in the temple with the rookie quarterback. That is like years 1 through 3. We're not at that stage with Fields anymore.
Yeah, it's with Justin, it's going to be. I don't know, man. I wouldn't. It wouldn't bother me, but if you gave up a second,
yeah,
that's an investment, right? That's an investment. He's a starter.
That's a starting player. That's a starting player.
You're going to pick up the option, right? I mean,
yeah, but you also traded. You give up a second. You traded away a starting player, like by doing that. That in your second round picks are volatile, but like if you value your second round pick, that means you think you can draft a starter.
Yeah,
with that pick, so you're giving away a starter plus a bunch of money to get him. I understand both sides. I sounded like I was flip-flopping there. I understand both sides. If they trade for him, I'm fine. Let's ride. Beef up the O-line and let's run the ball. Let's play bully ball. That's basically what I'll try to say, and hopefully wide open throws happen down the field. That's what I'm hoping if they do that.
Yeah, because you got to get some speed around. There's a lot of things you have to. That's what I'm saying. If you bring him in there and you want him to start, you got to get faster downfield. You can't do like the short passing game. It changes everything. So that's why I say it's an investment. If you're going to go get him, because the Steelers are going to make an investment because they don't believe in Kenny Pickett, right? So they're going to go get a guy that they think they can invest in for the future. I don't know if I feel that way about Justin Fields. Do I want to invest in him going forward? And that's why I feel like, because he's that type of player that if you bring him in, you kind of have to see it going forward. How many years do you give it to decide whether he's not the guy or not? Because there's going to be flashes where he is, and they're going to be like upset at sometimes, and there's going to be different times where everything looks kind of different. Mm-hmm. That's where it gets weird for me. Because
agreed.
Yeah, because it's just such a big investment. Like, he's the starter. I'm like, oh, it's just a Fields starter for the next 2 years. You know what I mean?
longer than that too. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's not like, I get it. Like, you're signing him to an extension after 1 year, if that's the case. Now, if it goes bad the first year, you do have an out, right?
Yeah.
He's on the hook for the 5th-year option. You would think a team would pick that up. You do have an out. When do you ink that deal? Like, it has to be. And I do see a situation where like the Raiders beat up on like 5 straight teams with Justin Fields. I could see a situation where it's just like, man, they right now they're playing good ball on defense, and they're rushing for 180 yards a game and beating these teams. I agree. What's the ceiling with him? But I do think you could run into a magical year with Justin Fields. Like, you can. Like, I think he has one MVP type season in his career.
Yeah. So is McLaurin available?
No, I don't. He's doesn't.
That'll be. I mean, maybe. I mean, it's with Scott Turner. I'm just saying.
Go get him if he is. I mean, he's better than Brandon Ayuk. He's a beast. Yeah.
So get some of these questions. Xavier Howard is out there. I think that's a good one.
Let him sit on the market for a while. Some of these guys, like these older veteran guys, they don't even want those deals.
I don't know. He might get signed quick because he is
a man corner. He is a legit man corner. But yeah, sure, okay. No, I'm in. Like, because what this team needs, I was even looking at like, do the Cowboys still want Stephon Gilmore? I'm looking at that tier, and Howard's there. I think Gilmore is still very, very, very good. But like that tier, they need that with a Jack Jones on the other side. Like, they need a veteran, kind of like a guy who polices the secondary a little bit more. A guy that's been around some good teams, not great, but good teams. I'm for it, sure.
Yeah. So do you think possibly? I mean, I did Baker. I mean, Baker's kind of like an upgrade from Jimmy Garoppolo. That's what kind of I felt like when I was watching Baker. Like, yeah, sure. Could we win with Baker? Same way with Justin Fields, which I feel like he's just a little bit of an upgrade over Jimmy Garoppolo too. It's can we win with those guys? Yeah, of course. But I think Baker is more of I feel more comfortable bringing Baker in and knowing that I can still draft somebody to compete with him and they can all compete. That's why I feel better about with Baker. It's just with Fields, man. You have to see it out because he's young and all those things. So that's the thing with him. All right, last question, then we get into our topics here. What's both of you guys' ideal free agency signing? Mine would be, to be honest, see, I don't want to be boring here, but it would be like Lloyd Cushenberry. That would be mine.
Yeah, I say Matt Abuike. I don't know if the Thicker Ravens, but they are changing defensive coordinators. Perhaps I don't. I know they're switching up stuff. Justin Madubuike, the defensive tackle, I think right there that allows you, if you get that down, I mean, you have a line of, again, I'm a Tyree Wilson guy. You can use him as a chess piece along the O line, and then you'd have Max Crosby, Malcolm Kuntz. I do think they're going to bring in a kind of a veteran edge rusher, kind of rotational edge rusher as well. So building up that defensive line, I'm really, really big on that. I saw somebody say Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins, I think, is going to get. You never know with Miami, but I think they have a chance to franchise tag him. I would think that they would do that. He's still really good, but yeah, I mean, he becomes a guy at that point. But Madubuike, I believe, is at least going to test the market. But I could be wrong.
All right. So, guys, just throw out your questions in here. I'm starring them, so I'll definitely get back to your questions if we don't get to them. But we get to our topics here. So we can talk about AP comments on Mahomes. I already saw somebody ask a question about AP, another comment he made about ALC. Then Josh Jacobs franchise tag. We're gonna have a debate on that, guys. We're gonna debate the franchise tag there. It's coming up. We talked about T. Higgins, and we got the number of what I believe is like 11 million, I believe. And then trading up or back, we got the trade up scenario from Daniel Jeremiah, who gave that on his nice press conference there for the Raiders, and 3 players at 13, both offense and defense here. So let's get to the first one. Let's talk about some AP and his Mahomes comments, which got everybody in a little tizzy. And every article's that Mike Florio wanted to go to the NFL.
Yeah. He's like, you see, actually, I found a case from 1973 that could use as legal precedent to put Antonio Pierce in jail. Yeah, come on, dude.
Man. That's why I like Antonio Pierce, man. He just makes people hate the Raiders. That's why I love that. And it's this quote here. I gotta move my camera here. So we got the Jordan rules, and what I'm calling from now, as long as I'm here, the Patrick Mahomes rules. Pierce said on the podcast. So you remember when Jordan was going through with the Pistons, all those guys in the 80s before he became Michael Jordan, Air Jordan, the Pistons used to whoop his ass. And anytime he came to the hole, elbows, filling them, love taps. We touched him. We're in his head mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. He said spiritually. I'm touching you. So I showed you these guys getting his ass whooped. I mean, that's a quote right there, dog.
Yeah.
That is a quote. But it's true. I mean, that's what Max Crosby does to Patrick Mahomes anyways. If you watch the quarterback documentary with Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota, he literally does everything that he talked about. He elbows him after the play. He'll hit him after the play, and he just gets in Mahomes' head, and that's why Mahomes doesn't play good against the Raiders. Really, I really feel like that Crosby gets in his damn head every single time. And the last time they played, he kind of when he was hurt, he really didn't play that well, right? And the Raiders and Mahomes kind of went down the field on him. I know the year before they came back, but the Raiders still at 1 up 17-0. But in this past, the last time they played, I mean, they dominated him.
Yeah.
So I think Crosby kind of already sets the tone like that with Mahomes, and I think that's why he kind of had this conversation with him, because literally, if you go watch the documentary on quarterbacks on Netflix, you'll see Max Crosby do elbows, love taps, all that type of shit to him. So, yeah, that's why I like AP though, man. You have the NFL hate the Raiders again.
Yeah, because right now the Raiders aren't hated; they're laughed at. Let's be real. Like, we have to look, Raider fans. Nobody else is listening. It's just us right now. Nobody else is listening. You don't have to defend anybody. We get laughed at. Nobody fears the Raiders right now. I'm sorry. We need to become feared again. That's what the Raiders are. Also, AP, these comments. This is said in team meetings. Anybody who's going to play Patrick Mahomes, by the way, like anybody who's about to go to Arrowhead or host the Chiefs, they go, we got to hit him. Hit him. But the only time he's lost the Super Bowl, he got hit 1 million times against Tampa. This is how you beat him. It's nothing else. That's why when all these people, when I listen to PFF or any of these other like kind of analytics driven shows, they're always like, well, you just got to keep taking swings at quarterback in the first round. I'm not against taking a first round quarterback, but I've seen Patrick Mahomes lose to dominant defenses. Now he's beaten some, but if you look at their season this year, 15 starting quarterbacks were hurt this year. They had a top 5 defense, which doesn't usually happen, and I don't think is sustainable even under Spagnuolo, the salary cap and stuff like that. And then also just like there were just a couple plays in every single game I felt like they were in the playoffs. And those couple games can be decided by physicality. Like, you can set the tone early. Everybody laughs at that kind of stuff. And they're all year, the nerds, those like nerdy podcast guys, not tape, don't lie. Other guys are going to be like mocking the like physical football, this and that, like they want to play that finesse stuff. But we lost Dan Campbell to analytics. So we need to have a true physical warrior. Look at him, dude. Look at the guy wearing that stuff. I remember when that interview on Max Crosby podcast is wonderful. And I love, that's the best part of it, was that part.
Yeah, it's just so interesting. Just the way they talked about this, like, it's really not that crazy. I mean, they're trying to make it seem like he's Greg Williams or something, but it's just a mentality that the Raiders have. But I mean, like, nobody voted him a good hire, like, out of the executives. You know what I mean? So there's gonna be a lot of hate towards the Raiders with this guy, no matter what. He's not talking at the combine, which I thought was interesting. He'll probably talk in the background though, and I'm sure he'll be there because everybody's gonna be there. Telesco's talking, yeah, man, it's going to be. I like this guy, man. I like him a lot. I don't know why people try to give him some shit.
I'm in. Let's ride, man. I'm in.
Yeah, man. Let's get into some other topics here. So let's talk about Josh Jacobs. All right. So Josh Jacobs is up for a franchise tag once again. All right. It's $11 million for a franchise tag of Josh Jacobs. All right, Josh Jacobs had a down year. Okay, so he did have a down year. I talked about this before the season. I even covered it before the season. I basically predicted it because it wasn't even a prediction. It just happened every time a guy got over 340 touches. They just had like the worst season next year. It doesn't even matter who it is. It was Derrick Henry. No, I think actually only Henry was the only one who actually didn't have a terrible season next year, but he's also like 300 pounds. So he's a monster. But everybody else, like Jonathan Taylor fell off, Adrian Peterson, his career ended basically. It goes and goes and goes. I think the other guy was Marshawn Lynch. He was the only other guy who could do 340 touches 2 years in a row. So you see the type of body type it takes to do that. And Jacobs just fell off. I mean, every player that had over 340 touches had a drop off of 5.7 games missed. That was Jacobs again. We don't how many games he missed, like 5 or 6 at the end of the year. Overall, I think something like that. So it's the same thing. And maybe he has a bounce back, but I think the Raiders have to play into that when you're looking at his numbers and the injury history he's had his whole career to how you do it going forward. But I think they're going to tag him. I'm not going to lie to you. I think they're going to do it. So
I'm okay if they tag him. It's okay. I need Raider fans to realize, like, okay, in free agency, you don't pay guys for what they've been in the past. That's not a good process. When you pay guys for what they've done in the past, in the future, they kind of might not live up to that price tag that you set for them. Now, I get why fans want him around. I like Josh Jacobs. I wouldn't do anything more than the franchise tag. And to be honest, even the franchise tag, I'm kind of like, man, can we just get younger and spread the carries out over 3 to 4 guys? It's just how you do it. Guys that aren't making that much money. One veteran making like, $5-6 million a year. Then you get like a scheme fit veteran. I mean, then you have your scat back who could either be drafted. It could be a combination of any of these things, or a veteran there, and then let Zamir White see what he's got. There could be 3 to 4 guys to where you're not just like, hopefully this guy has a big year. It's okay if Josh Jacobs has one good year for someone somewhere else next year. It's do you think he's going to get healthier and maintain his explosiveness for 3 to 4 years? Because even if he has a good year this year, it's like 2 years down the contract, you like can't wait to get out of that money because of running back issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do want to say this. Somebody said Tom Telesco, right? But how many interviews have we seen of Antonio Pierce and him mention Josh Jacobs?
Yeah,
it's a giveaway, guys. He's getting tagged. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that, but I'm pretty sure that's already set in stone. If they can't come up with a deal right now, he's gonna get tagged before it ends, right? So they can keep working on a deal. I think they're gonna work something out with Josh no matter what. So that's my thing. So I want to post some because I want to show like the drop off he had last year a little bit. So you see, 2023, 2022, you got 3.59, 3.5. Sorry, I gave him a little bit more than he actually had. 3.5 and 4.9 YPA, 805 yards and 1,653. This is a big drop off. I mean, this is a normal drop off from that many touches. It is crazy, and hopefully they can work it out where he doesn't have that many touches.
Yeah.
This year, if they do this with Zamir White showing that he can actually run the ball in the NFL. So, but 6 touchdowns to 12. The big one though was this. I think this is nuts. 28 missed tackles forced to 90 the year before. That's where it got weird for me. So was that him sitting out the whole year? Was that, the whole training camp? What did that play a part into, right? And like 9 of those were after he caught the ball. So only 19 of them were on rushes. So that's the thing. If you're going to give him 11 million, you got to think about these things. But when we talk about this topic, it's just about paying. How much do you pay a running back in the modern NFL? And I think you have to be like Bijan Robinson. And Bijan Robinson didn't get the ball, but if you go look at his stats. And everybody complained about him get the ball. He averaged like 5 yards a carry. I had like 900 yards, and like 7 touchdowns. So if he didn't get the ball a lot and he's doing that, that's the type of running back you have to have, in my opinion, who catches and do all these things. And I think Jacobs can be that guy. It's just how much tread does he actually have left? Because Josh McDaniels and them, they ran him into the ground. And when that happens, it takes a while from them to bounce back unless you're Marshawn Lynch or Derrick Henry. So
yeah, what would you say to this? Okay, I could tell you this: pay Josh Jacobs, and I know the Raiders have some money, and we're going to talk about that. But pay Josh Jacobs the franchise tag, which I thought it was higher than what you said. I thought it was like 12 to 13, but
I saw 11. I saw Tom Pelissero tweeted out the franchise tags after that, and it was like 11 because the T. Higgins was 21. That was wide receiver 21.
Okay.
Quarterback's 38. I remember that. Yeah.
Okay. Either way, double digits. And then you got to there's obviously some holes this team has to fill. But what if you just went Zamir White? And look, I understand I'm not 100% like Zamir White's going to be the guy. But I think he can be a guy in the system, not just this guy you hide and, make a healthy scratch or something. But then, Dante Foreman, a guy like that, like a veteran, comes in who's had success under Luke Getsy, and then you go either in the draft like a late round pick, perhaps a scat back. We'll see. Amir Abdullah is like shooting like a film now or something, so who knows what he's going to be there. But yeah, if you had a combination of like those 3 guys, to where if one gets injured, yeah, that's not bad. But if like Josh Jacobs signs that franchise tag and gets injured, the running back room. Yeah, you hope Zamir can return to that magic, but it's just putting a lot of eggs in one basket. And how many starters do they need on the O-line this year? They need a few. To go get. And to me, I would go with what I said earlier, with that kind of cost-controlled running back room and then really go after some guards, go after a Kevin Dotson, go at, people like that, and then create like an ecosystem for a good running back instead of paying for one and hoping it works out, crossing your fingers.
Yeah, there it goes. 11.9. So it's about just 12 million now.
Mm-hmm.
And the Raiders have the cap space to do it. I mean, I saw one question: does it affect anything? Are we concerned over nothing? I mean, it's not that we're concerned. I'm not concerned at this point about
it's
it.
fine. Yeah,
It's just at the running back position right now. Josh Jacobs is 26. He's about to be turning 27, so he's on the back end, and he's already been hurt. He already came up with the down season. It's just maybe it is time to go younger at the position. That's the thing. But if you bring him back, right? Like, what role does he have? Do you want to give him the 300 carries? Like, is he do you have to give him 300 carries? Is those that type of thing? Then that's when it becomes difficult with him with running back contracts, because we can go get Trey Benson. You know what I'm saying? And would anybody tell the difference? You probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference. You just be like, yo, there's Trey Benson running all over the place, right? And that's my thing with running backs. Like, yeah. I disagree with that they don't matter, but I kind of agree with like the value at the past 27. Like, we get to 27, we're what are we betting on? I mean, basically, if he's 27 and he's still good past then, he's probably a Hall of Famer. Let's keep it real. With running backs, if they're good past 27, they get to 30, 31. Those are like APs, Evan Smiths, those Hall of Fame type of running backs. So,
and do you see that?
Yeah.
With Josh Jacobs, do you see Hall of Famer when you watch him? Be real. Like, I don't.
I mean, to be with Josh Jacobs, I mean, it depends on how healthy he is. If he's healthy, then you get full 2022 Josh Jacobs. If he's not healthy, or if he's sitting out and he comes out of shape, it's a different guy. But that's what I'm saying. Like, do we get 2022 Josh Jacobs? That's where it becomes then, because that guy's worth 12 million.
Yeah,
but the guy
he plays, the way he plays. I mean, sorry, like with the shoulder. I mean, it's physical. We love it. I love watching it. It's just the idea. It's like, man, he is not like a speed back.
See, I think he doesn't play like that anymore. I feel like he's too finesse.
And maybe but is that the problem, that he doesn't? Like, it's this weird catch-22. I think I need him to play like that. I can't put that money down and be like, all right, he's going to be running guys. Like, I kind of need him. He's not a home run hitter. He kind of is, but not really. He's not like the home run hitter the way these like Tony Pollards are, which they have their own problems. But I just mean, it's like, I'm okay losing the gamble to somebody else. I'm just okay if he goes to Carolina and gets 4 years, 40 million from there, or 4 years, 44 million from them. He might have a huge year, but it's just like, that's going to be the team that does it if he gets a big deal. It's not going to be maybe Houston. I could see maybe Houston being a team that does it because they have the space, and good for them. They have the rookie deal that we covet as fans.
See, I just think that it is kind of a wasted conversation a little bit, because I just feel like the fix is in already. Because even if you look at the offensive system that they're bringing in, the offensive line coach they brought in, the run game, coordinator they brought in, even where he came from, we are going wide zone, and that's Josh Jacobs. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, so I feel like if they can't get a deal done, they are going to do a franchise tag. And I don't think Tom Telesco, I think he has I'm sure if Tom Telesco had a choice, he wouldn't do it. But you got Mark Davis, you got Antonio Pierce wanting it to get it done. It's gonna get done. So it's just, how much do we invest in? Is it like a 2-year deal? Whatever they got to do, I think they got to go 2-year deal here. Not 3. Like, give them like 2 years. 22 if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Kind of front loaded a little bit with some guarantees, put that cap space down a little bit, and make it work that way. But I don't think this should make a super long-term investment, because I mean, how much better will it get past 28? So
agreed. And I saw somebody bring up, I said he wasn't a home run hitter. Nick in the comments said, did you watch the Chiefs game? The first one, I remember he had that huge run, and then the Seahawks overtime winner. That's his 2 long runs. You brought up his 2 long runs in his career. Look, I saw the Green Bay game. I'm talking about his 2 long touchdown runs where he flipped like, oh, whoa. That's the 2 times. That's all I'm saying. It sounds like I hate the guy. I don't. But if there was no salary cap, I would say bring him back. But there is a salary cap. We're talking about cap space with a team that needs a quarterback still.
Yeah, but the fix is in. So like we're having.
No, he'll get it. I don't think he's leaving. I think it's a franchise tag, and that's fine. It's okay. It's okay if that happens.
AP's too loud with it. Like even his little player tribute thing, he said Josh Jacobs. Like I was like, oh man, so we are signing Josh Jacobs. Cool. Yeah. All right. So it's not even really a conversation, but we'll have the conversation, right?
Sure.
All right. So the big one we're talking about, trading up. Now this is the real conversation here, Glenn. Trading up to 3, according to NFL.com, Daniel Jeremiah. Okay. Now, this isn't talking about trade up to 1. I know there's some other scenarios, but I think this is kind of what it would take to get up to 3. Okay. So to get up to 1, just add some things in there. Just use your imagination, right? Add some things. Maybe probably a 2024 second, maybe, or 2020 something, 2024 third, something in here to add that in to get to 1. But this is a scenario that Daniel Jeremiah put out there. So to me, this is what I feel like what Daniel Jeremiah is hearing, if he even said this, okay? Because he is that type of guy where his top 50 is the only time he is his peer evaluation. Everything else that he says is what he's hearing, okay? So, and he's a very reliable source. He's an NFL scout, been in the NFL for a long time. I think Daniel Jeremiah is one of the best in the NFL, okay? Now, this is when I look at this, Glenn, I'm gonna tell you, give my feelings. This is not a lot for some reason to me.
No,
it isn't, right? It's not a lot. No. It really is not a lot. Now, because okay, so if I have second round picks, okay, and I have third round picks, I can move back into the first round.
Yep.
Right. So if I go into 2025 with the second round pick, I want to have my third. So maybe you can't trade up into the first round. So maybe you got to wait for that year, right? But 2026, you got all your picks after the second and third round, right? So there's a lot of moving you can do there. So just to lose 13 and really don't lose anything else besides a third next year. So you're telling me we can go get a quarterback, still have a second round pick, and just skip the third? I'm like, wait a second. See, to me, that's a damn good deal. If that's what the Patriots want, man.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts, Glenn?
Yeah, I think it's gonna take more than that. Personally, like I think it's gonna take. I think the 3, because what is that? 3 firsts? Yeah, 3 firsts. That sounds about right. I think there's gonna be like another mid-round pick kind of thing that happens in there. Whatever, that's fine. Still yes. My question is, when do you make that trade? If you make that trade when the league year opens or whenever you're able to, you must have some intel of who Chicago and Washington are taking. Because that's a weird pick to trade for if you don't know how the draft fell to you yet.
Yeah.
So the reason I say that is we might all say, as a Raider fan, we're starving. We're licking our chops for a quarterback. We want one so bad. We might say we'll take any of the top 5. Not every team thinks that way, I don't think. So I think it's pretty clear that AP likes Jaden Daniels, right? I mean, it's pretty fair to say. So if he's there, that's fine. But I've noticed a lot of trades for the draft have been happening before the draft. Like I said, for teams to figure out what they have with their resources, what they can do with their boards. This is not a trade that I make until draft night, because you are essentially saying, I want the third best quarterback. I'll do anything.
It's what the Niners did.
Right. And that was a weird year. That was a year where everybody thought it was a Hall of Fame 1983 draft, and it surely was not. Is this year the same way? And my thing is are you okay with Drake May or Jaden Daniels?
See, that's where you get to.
Or JJ. I'm like, look, I'm not saying JJ is going third overall, but I could see a team doing it. Are we that team? I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to make that trade too far in advance if you don't know yet.
I just think the Raiders drafting Drake May would just be hilarious because he's basically Derek Carr and it's hilarious to me. So that would be funny.
Well, he's Derek Carr that can go get a first down with his legs if he has to.
Yeah, I know, but
That's was Raider fans' problem more so than anything. I thought was that he would just sit there. Yeah,
he just reminds me too much of Carr, man. It's too much for me. Every time I watch him play, I'm like, oh, I've seen that. I've seen you before. He has a better arm though. He does have a better arm, but I feel like that would be because right now, I believe Daniels is higher than May to the NFL. Okay, so
agreed.
At this point in time, Daniels is higher than Drake May, and I don't care what your boy on Twitter, how many cut-ups they put on. There's some things that they won't show you on Twitter. For some reason, Drake May does not get slandered. I've seen every slander for Williams. I've seen slander for Daniels. I've seen slander for Knicks. I've seen slander for Penix. For some reason, Drake May does not get shown his bad stuff. It's always just every great throw he made in the game. We never showed the intentional grounding from Georgia Tech. I don't know if anybody else in this chat watched that game, but it's one of the worst intentional groundings I've ever seen. So it's that type of things with Drake May. So the NFL is going to be higher on Jaden Daniels. All right. So if what the Commanders going to do, the Commanders going to try to trade with the Bears to 1. That's what they're going to do first because they want Caleb Williams. That's their goal at the combine. 100%, I bet. They're going to try to get 1, right? So what do the Bears do? The Bears, do they really want a quarterback? Or are they just fooling with us? Or are they just dangling with Justin Fields and they try to see how much of a baby Justin Fields is? Or he's going to cry about it? Or are they really going to move on from him? Because if the Commanders jump them, then it becomes interesting because the only reason they're going to take Caleb Williams is because he's Caleb Williams. So if they move back to 2, then I think that changes the whole draft. But the Commanders are going to try to get up to 1. That's the first part of this whole movement. So when the Raiders move up to 3, that's when it becomes a Daniels or Drake May. And man, it's going to be interesting if the Raiders land up with Drake May. And I'm not saying that Drake May doesn't have talent. Right. He's a great talent, and I don't know how much of it is it the North Carolina offense, but I just seen that type of movement to pressure before, like where you just don't, where it's just, where you just you just don't want to be hit all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And a couple things here. Somebody said when I alarmed people with my JJ McCarthy thing. The way I see a team trading for JJ McCarthy at 3 is that if Washington or whoever's picking at 2 likes Daniels and Williams and Daniels are gone, pick 1 and 2, then it's between McCarthy and May, which I don't think is actually set in stone that May is better than McCarthy to the league.
To the NFL, yes.
To the league. A given team, which I actually think the Raiders might like JJ McCarthy over Drake May. That's just me. That's just me. I could see JJ is a pretty boy, but he's tough. You know what I mean? So I could see them liking him more. Now that being said, the Raiders will not pass on Jaden Daniels if they have the opportunity to take him. Nope. Antonio Pierce is not really playing poker right now with what he's saying. He wants Jaden Daniels and he wants Josh Jacobs back on a franchise tag, which if they take Jaden Daniels and Josh Jacobs is back on a franchise tag, let's rock. But what I mean is like, okay, you're trading up to 3. That's why you don't do this super far in advance, because you're like, you have to know how the picks 1 and 2 go. Otherwise, you gave up the farm for whoever falls to me. And that's, to me, teams don't operate like that. So hopefully that trade happens draft night and not or unless there's just severe like Tom Clancy like intel that's happening, between these teams. That's all I mean. But go get your guy. Yeah.
So if they trade late, though, in my opinion, if they trade at the draft, they give up less. Because I talked about this the other day on the show, if you trade on draft night, you give up less. It will probably be 2 first-round picks.
Right.
Because teams are on the phone and they're calling. It's more of a rush than when you do it in March. But they might be aggressive, man. They might trade up to 3 and kind of be like, we're going to get you Drake May, or we're getting Jaden Daniels. Because Telesco might like May. I think he probably will. Somebody be a fan of that. And May is young. I just don't know how ready to play he is, and I think he's more raw than people give him credit for. Yeah, I think he's a pretty raw prospect. Okay. He's not like I don't think he's a refined, ready to go start right away. Like I am not sure And I'm sure in preseason he'll have some crazy throws. I'm not sure how consistent he'll be though, enough to beat out Aiden O'Connell year one going into it.
And
So,
which is fine. I think that's
yeah.
when I trade up to 3. That doesn't mean he has to start day 1 because we saw Bryce Young.
Yeah.
We saw Bryce Young. You don't have to do that. And now I know I think our Raiders are a better situation than Carolina, but what I'm saying is like that's okay. If you see something special in Drake May and he's your guy, I would just hate to be like, man, hopefully I get one of the top 3. I don't like my GM thinking like that. Like
Yeah.
have a plan at quarterback. You're trading up for a guy, not like or the guy, I should say, and not a guy.
Yeah.
That's that like analytics brain, like PFF model thing that's infecting everybody is like they'll just take any of the top of our big board. No, they have their own board.
Yeah, the Drake May Dick Ryder group chat was on fire. I saw somebody call him Tyrod Taylor. I was like, oh my god, that's disrespectful.
Oh no, that's people are
just disrespectful.
I will say the thing about Drake May, people are saying like Drake May is not getting enough slander, but that also to me is a red flag because I don't think anybody's actually that high on him. I don't think he's going 2 overall.
The smart guy group chat is
I don't think they're going to. I don't think he's going 2 overall. Like that's that weird Zach Wilson thing. I don't think like Zach Wilson went 2 overall, but I don't remember anybody ever getting excited about him. I remember people being like, "Oh, he's pretty good," and he was just slotted at 2. But right now, I don't think Drake May is the. A lot of people think it's Williams and May 1 and 2, and then the draft starts. No.
So yeah, man, it's just crazy to me. Just the way the Drake May dick writing, and I'm gonna say that on here. It is some serious dick writing, because especially when I saw that like 5-minute video the other day. Like, bro, I know if you watch this many games, I know you saw those other plays.
Right.
So obviously you're just a dick writer. I mean,
yeah,
like watch the film, man. Don't be a fanboy. That's what I say about that. So that stuff. All right. So I saw this, out of the top 5 QBs, who has the highest football IQ is Caleb. I'm gonna hold you guys. It's really not that close. It's like Caleb's up here.
Yeah.
And then there's like a drop off. And then there's, for me, it's like Jaden Daniels. It's like Caleb.
For the Raiders, I think it's Jaden though. Now I'll tell you this: who do you think Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco and the new Raider regime take if they trade up to 1?
I don't like this question, Glenn, because
I
think it's Jaden Daniels.
Yeah,
but to be honest, my heart would hurt. My heart would sink.
It'd be a debate.
Like, you are passing up on a guy who has one of the freakish arms I've ever seen. He has pretty good pocket movement. He has great mechanics too. Like, his mechanics are great. His feet are always set. He's very accurate.
He's a good runner too.
He's a good runner, right? And he is, like, when he wants to stay in the pocket, which he did a lot more before they started losing. Like, early in the year, he's like doing all these pocket things. Like against Cal, he's like doing all these pocket movements, showing all this great stuff. And then they started losing to Washington. And like Notre Dame, the Notre Dame game is what panicked him, because he was doing that in the first half, and he just realized my team sucked. He's like, oh my god, we really suck, don't we? And he started spinning around, throwing picks. It was pretty hilarious, the Notre Dame game. From watching the first half change and him realizing how bad his team was, because they're playing a good team, and then him trying to take over, and he played a lot of hero ball, but it was a lot of the refinement and a lot of things he did. My only knock on him is that he's gonna take a lot of sacks, and which is a thing, but he also is short, and of course I'm not a fan of those guys.
What about the diva thing? Does the diva thing bother you at all?
It's probably a thing. It's probably, I think that's, but I can't see that, right? But it probably is a thing.
Yeah.
But that's for the NFL teams to figure out how much of that is, him being a different type of leader, is a real leadership. Because I know Lincoln Riley, his quarterbacks aren't really, as I would say, big like film guys. Because, like Baker Mayfield came out and he wasn't, he was a little bit arrogant and weird. And then Kyler Murray came out and he had to have a clause in for his contract to watch film. So then we got Caleb Williams coming out. That's going to be interesting to me, is like, how much film did he watch? Because I don't think he watches film. I don't. I think he just goes out there and plays and his balls. So if he is that type of guy, he's gonna have to learn how to play and mature and become an NFL quarterback. But in my opinion, I'm betting on that. I
Right.
bet on that. To be honest, it's just too clean on film, man. It's just a lot of things that I was even in shock in, because to be honest, going into this year, I wasn't that high on him because he was full Russ Wilson. Like, I'm not going to throw anything short. I'm just going to pass it up and go run around in circles. But this year, man, he was like in the pocket and stuff, and it was like, oh wow, okay. All right, man. If that's what you want to do, I don't know. Well, but that's what I'm saying. I don't know those things though about him personally. So I'm just going off what I watch on film. And maybe he's a big diva. To be honest, the NFL Combine and why I like going is because when I see these quarterbacks in their eyes and their reactions and their things and the way they look, you could just tell like who is the leader and who isn't.
Right.
So it's a dead giveaway at the Combine, even with the stupid ass questions he'll get. I'm sure somebody asked him about his nails or something.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, Kyler Murray is short and he is pretty good, but you just can't throw the middle of the field. That's all.
And he's shorter than Caleb Williams. I mean, Caleb Williams is 6 even, and Kyler Murray is shorter than that, and that's a big difference.
Yeah, we don't know how short Caleb Williams is. To be honest, he might be 5'11".
Do you think he's 5'11"?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's what he would. What would he put on Tinder?
Like, I still believe Bryce Young is 5'10". Unless I grew, because I think I'm 5'10" now because I was right next to Bryce Young, and we were the same height. So if he's 5'10", I'm 5'10". That's all I gotta say.
Like I said, what do you tell the ladies? Right? That's he's not gonna say I'm 5'11".
He measured there, right? So I was like, hey, I'm 5'10" now, then, because if Bryce Young is 5'10", I'm 5'10".
Right.
So.
No, agreed. Bryce Young is 5'8". Yeah, I mean, we know this. We watch it. It's very small. But yeah, agreed.
That's how I look at it, because I'm serious. Me and that guy are the same height, and he looked like a little kid. I don't know how he got Bryce Young, but in the plane, he didn't look like a football player.
Yeah,
he did not. All right. All right. I'm gonna ask this question before I get some other ones, but then we'll get to this last segment here. If he doesn't watch film, wouldn't that be lower IQ? No, technically, no, because I think he's just he's a natural, instinctful football player. So these guys are in college. So let me break this down. Sorry, let me phrase this. When these guys are in college, sometimes like you're just the best player on the field, and that's what Caleb Williams was every single week. So you have to take that into account, that he didn't have to study as much because he's Caleb Williams, and that's maybe the mindset that he has. But you can't do that in the NFL. So, but go ahead, Glen, what are you gonna say?
Well, no, IQ is not related to watching film. I would argue that, look, I think it's important that you watch film. This is a film channel, first and foremost. But I think it's important that you watch film. But like, IQ means you already know it. I mean, in theory, right? Is I know what's going to happen on this play. Maybe he is the savant of a quarterback. Some people are savants because they watch film, and some people are savants because they understand like scheme and all that stuff. I don't know. I know nothing about Caleb Williams, the person, what he knows about X's and O's. But yeah, I wouldn't say that is a lower IQ, football IQ situation with Caleb Williams. My thing is just like, I'm investing in you. There might be some tough losses year one. Are you going to handle that? Are you going to handle that well? I mean, he had some losses last year at USC, so I guess maybe he's used to it, but can you handle that? Are you going to be that like big?
I mean, he did cry.
I mean, I didn't want to say it, but when I saw that, I was like, bro, when you lose on Sunday Night Football, which will have 10x the ratings of the game you cried at. I'm not saying men can't cry. I'm saying men should cry somewhere else where there aren't cameras. That's no, truly. I mean, everybody thought it. Every NFL player, every guy, even if you said something else, everyone thought like, God, it's a bad look. Every guy thought it, and it's okay. Like it's okay, but it is a question. That being said, I understand your gamble. If it's 1 overall, don't be stupid. Don't be the guy that didn't take Caleb Williams.
See, there's nothing wrong with crying as a football player, but it's just like if it was
Yeah.
like the Pac-12 championship, then I would feel better about it.
Yeah, wasn't that like a regular season
Yeah,
game?
it's just them losing 5 games. So
That's what I mean. It's like that's exactly. And the Super Bowl, dude, I'm with you.
Cry all you want.
I will cry with you. Week 9 game? No.
AFC Championship, you're up 17 and you blow a lead. Cry all you want. That's fine. You might not get back there, but
yeah, I cry when I lose a parlay. I mean, shit. Like it's. Would I take me number 1 overall?
7-5 in college, and you're that was my thing with it. But let's move on. Let's move on. Too much Caleb Williams, and then I'll get you guys' questions last. There's probably a whole bunch of more comments and questions in here. All right. So we're gonna play a little game here. Now we're doing a game. We're finishing off some games here, guys. Who do you pick at 13 if you have these 3 options? Now, the first one's good. I'm not gonna do the easy. There's an easy one that me and Glenn are probably gonna agree with the first time, but we're gonna go with a difficult one first here. So, who would you pick at 13? Byron Murphy, Terrion Arnold, who's been mocked to the Raiders like 800 times, or Bo Nix.
I like this because Bo Nix would be technically overdrafted here, but it is the position of need the most on the Raiders.
Yeah.
I don't know that I see it with Bo Nix. I would say, first off, I have to take somebody at 13. I'm not getting out of this. If Bo Nix is there, my phone lines are open. Right? If I don't like him. I'm saying like, okay, my phone lines are open. Somebody else call me. Go give me a second round pick for Bo Nix or something like that to go get that pick. But I will say Byron Murphy.
You going Murphy?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going Murphy too, man. I will go Byron Murphy too.
Arnold's interesting. I'm scared of first round quarterbacks. I'm scared of them every single time because I can never see their failure coming or their success coming. Like truly, like remember like D. Milner and guys like that. Like
D. Milner,
Jeff Gladney, Artie Burns. All these guys got taken first round, and I'm like, dude, they stink. And I'm like, defensive tackle, at least if the effort is there, and the guy doesn't turn into like some Albert Hainsworth, like kind of like, but in his rookie deal, you're good. For the most part, like that, you have a solid contributor there that can at least, if he doesn't become a 3-down defensive tackle, can at least become useful in your rotation.
Yeah. So yeah, everybody in the comments. Oh yeah, Jeff Okudah too. Okudah.
Damon Arnett. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, all right. I wasn't gonna. I skipped past him. Trust me. It's actually,
he wasn't a first rounder though. So let's just keep it real.
Damon Arnett.
I know but he wasn't.
Yeah. No, he surely was. Unfortunately, yeah. To one team on one team's board, he was. God.
Oh man. Garyon Conley too, bro. You know,
it's really hard. And what you're doing is, luckily, the Raiders are a defensive-minded coaching staff, so at least you're drafting for maybe a scheme that might stay for a long time. But certain corners, man, that's the first thing you get rid of when you change schemes is your corners.
So to be fair, we're naming a bunch of Big Ten guys, which I have a thing with.
You do.
With Big Ten corners. There's just not a lot of...
But I named D. Milner, who went to the same school as Terrion Arnold.
That is true. But I just think Big Ten corners are just dangerous because, I can't name... If you went over your top 10 cornerbacks, how many Big Ten corners do you name? And that's kind of where I look at it when you draft Big Ten corners. You just got to stay away from them. So I think somebody like Terrion Arnold, who played in the SEC, and he played against a lot of good receivers, and like Malik Neighbors and all those guys, and he has great ball skills. You could take him at 13 and feel good because the ball skills are there, the speed is there, those type of things, and you can work on his technique and you can fix him. And plus, he comes from a smart system that's already NFL ready a little bit. D. Milner is a problem, and I understand what you're saying. And you think about with Alabama corners, Surtain's really good. You got Diggs lately.
Yeah.
Even like Levi Wallace is stuck in the league for a long time. Those guys do show up, and if they're really good, they can work it out. But the thing is like Kool-Aid McKinstry For some reason, I don't know what happened to Kool-Aid, but he didn't like have a bad season.
No.
So, to me, you could get somebody and still get Kool-Aid in the second round, because I think Kool-Aid is still a good player. He's still a really good player, and he was supposed to be the first round pick for like 3 years, and then Arnold had a better season, and since he has an athletic ability that may be a little bit better than Kool-Aid's, he just Arnold is more athletic, and
Right.
so longer, and on those just has a better prospect build than Kool-Aid, but Kool-Aid still might be the better actual corner there.
Right.
Right.
And you want to be picking. We know who now Tavondre Sweat is coming out, but I think Byron Murphy is better than Tavondre Sweat.
Doc, no. See, the thing with Sweat, I don't like Sweat because he's the only guy at the Senior Bowl that didn't weigh in. So
fat.
So he's fat, and then I wish I could show you guys the video that me and Matt made of him in warm-ups doing stretching.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you already. We don't need that guy in Vegas. We got too much good food in Vegas. That's not gonna happen. Yeah, no, I agree. I'm with you. I think Murphy's the guy, and I think he plays with that a little bit. I've been watching a little bit of him. Just he plays with that nastiness. To me, I think all of Raider Nation would be sad at 13 that they didn't get the quarterback, but I think they'd be happy with the player. I think everybody understands how we miss just having a game record defensive tackle.
Yeah.
Since like when was the last time the Raiders had a game wrecking defensive tackle? I mean, it's tough. It's tough to pick back like when that happened. I mean, we've had solid ones, but not
Chester McLaughlin. I mean,
that's what I mean. Way back.
Darrell Russell.
Yeah, we're way back is what I mean. So I think already having your edge 1 and edge 2 solidified, and then just drafting a young, cheap defensive tackle, even though that contract might be a little high there. To me, I think it's a no-brainer. Neither of us picked Bo Nix. Crazy.
Tommy Kelly. We forgot about Tommy.
TK was good until he got paid. He got paid and he kind of fell off a little bit. But TK was that. I love that defensive line of Matt Shaughnessy, Trevor Scott, Richard Seymour, and TK. Dude, that was a badass defensive line that had no corners, no linebackers, and Michael Huff.
I just remember being a kid and being heartbroken that Chester McLaughlin went to the Chiefs. I never forgave you for that. Never forgave you. You're a traitor, Chester. You're a traitor. All right. Somebody said Darius Philon. All right. Second scenario. This one's gonna be easy for both of us, but we got a scenario here for you guys. Okay, so I don't know. See, okay, this is gonna be interesting.
It's not that easy. It depends on how you feel. Yeah.
So J.C. Latham, J.J. McCarthy, or Olu Fashanu.
I mean, it's JJ for me.
Okay. All right. So you're going
make a case for somebody else. Make a case for somebody else. Make a case why you would take a tackle.
Okay. I'm going to make a case for Olu Fashanu. Okay. I'm just going to put double active here because I'll go JJ too. I'm not going to get a lot of you, but just for the fun and games here. Okay. I do see some people agreeing with me with Olu. Okay. So why would you go Olu? Because Olu had technically a down season, but he didn't give up a sack. So he still didn't give up a sack. He still gave it like, I don't know how many pressures, probably like 8 or something like that. But this was considered a down season for Olu Fashanu. So he's not as good as Joe Alt, technically, right? But when you watch him on film, he's pretty flawless in pass protection. I mean, he is flawless in pass protection, and he's a monster as a run blocker. Okay, so I don't believe it. I can't. When I watch him on film, I don't believe that he gets out of the top 5 for some reason. I don't feel like the NFL is that stupid.
Wow.
When it comes to pass protection, because he's a stud there. Like his technique is he's a stud in pass protection. So if he fell to the Raiders, I honestly feel like that you could he's so good at pass protection that you could slide him into the right side, and he might struggle for maybe like a couple weeks in preseason. Right, where he's learning it in preseason, and you throw him out there, let him play like 3 quarters in preseason at right tackle, and just rep the hell out of him. I bet by week 3 he's a stud there.
Yeah, I mean, but also like I would say this. Now, is he I know you say you could slide him, but like to right tackle, but Is that as easy in the NFL? How much did he play at Penn State at right tackle at all?
No. See now the perfect example of a guy moving the past couple of years. I think these players have done it a little bit better than before. I think they're more prepared for it. To be honest, they might be training for it because Paris Johnson, right? He was drafted to the Cardinals and he was moved to the right. And he's probably
Right.
one of the best right tackles,
Yeah, he's
in
a
the rookie
baller.
class, right? He balled and he never played right tackle before.
Okay.
So I think these guys are more prepared for that switch because the Raiders, I mean, that was the guy that they're going to draft. They're going to draft Paris Johnson and move him to
Yep.
the right,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, that was the original guy they were going to draft before Tyree Wilson, and that's what the Cardinals jumped him because they knew that. So,
Yeah.
Olu can do it. It's more to me. I see people talk about Cole Miller playing right tackle at UCLA, which he did, which brings up another story, which I never understood. I never understood why they moved Donald Penn to right tackle when Colton Miller was a right tackle. But different coaching staff, right?
Yeah,
Coaching staff is gone. But I think Olu, he's just special, man. If you had him and Colton Miller, like there's
Yeah, no, agreed. If in pass protection, he is number one. My boy Joe Alt is a baller though.
yeah.
Don't sleep. He's a baller. I just don't sleep on him. He's a mountain. He's a big boy. He gets it done. No, the tackle is going to be a flavor thing where it's going to be teams are going to. I think a lot of teams are going to have like their top tackle. So yeah, and I don't see Colton Miller being like, "Hey, what's up, bro?
Let me play right.
Hey, you want to come in here for a second? Yeah. No. Could you do switch positions for the rookie? No, it's not gonna happen. So yeah, I don't. That's not happening. Whoever the Raiders draft at tackle is playing right tackle this year.
Yeah.
But there's a case to be made that one, Colton Miller will be due for an extension in 2 years, I think, and then. If not, he'll have to play right tackle. Like you might have your left tackle of the future starting at the right side. I agree with that. Let me make the case for JJ though.
Okay, go make
because some people are still struggling with JJ. Now, one thing you have to understand is the market of the draft. If we think that 3 QBs are going in the top 3, which Marvin Harrison might sneak in there to the Patriots at 3. I'm just going to say that much. But it might happen. Something like that might happen. They might not go 1, 2, and 3. But let's say you think that Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May are going 1, 2, and 3 in any particular order.
Mm-hmm.
QB4 will get overdrafted no matter what. Because like QB4 becomes the premium. It's all these teams. There's gonna be all these teams that had to look at their teams without their starting quarterbacks last year and be like, wow, we're starting a really bad backup. And there's going to be teams like the Vikings, teams like the Falcons, all these other teams that will want a quarterback. The Raiders have the option of having Aiden O'Connell start a few games this year and having a guy like J.J. McCarthy develop. He has the arm, he's got the size, he's got the speed, and he's tough. And he's won in college. So to me, I don't see him getting past pick 15, but I also don't think the Raiders are going to be able to take him at 13. I don't see him getting past pick 8 to the Falcons. So, but if he's there at 13, I sprint the card in. I'm sorry. I'd love to have the next Orlando Pace. I'd love to have the next Jonathan Ogden, but I'd also love to have the next great quarterback that I can develop in my system because he fits, because he nailed the interview, because he threw well at the combine, because I think he will throw well at the combine. So, sorry, just positional thing.
Yeah. I agree, man. I mean, I would take JJ too if he was there at 13. I would, just because I think there's a lot of upside there with him, and it's a lot of with me is it Harbaugh, is it him? So he has more of a fit for me. I feel like some of the other guys might be more talented in some other areas than JJ and show a lot more on film, but he does have a NFL quarterback toughness to him
and arm. I mean, the arm is alive,
in the
man.
pocket. He's tough. He's tougher in the pocket. Like a lot of these guys, even Jane Daniels. I mean, Jane Daniels isn't very tough in the pocket either. Because I watched this play with Carson Beck today. I was watching the Georgia Center, and Carson Beck just kind of stayed in the pocket and just took this huge hit in the head, right? And I was like, that's what NFL quarterbacks have to do. You have to take those big old hits, and that's something JJ will do.
Did you
I
see
know
that
that.
clip? Did you see that clip? It was going around about how football used to be played, where Troy Aikman, it was 89, which I don't know if that was his rookie year or like a couple years out. He took this hit that would like straight up get somebody thrown in prison nowadays, and he hit somebody like he stood in there and took it and threw it on a dime over the middle of the field. And I'm like, I'm not saying that's what NFL court. Just because the rules are different now doesn't mean you don't still have to have that in you as a quarterback. That's two different things. And with McCarthy, look, I'm betting on the fact that like what the Raiders want to do is I think they're going to love him. I think their quarterback room is going to be Jaden Daniels QB1, JJ McCarthy QB2. Personally, that's just my pick. The way they're going to view these guys could be completely wrong, and maybe we'll never even know. But with McCarthy, I think there's something you can develop there. I don't want him to play right away, not because I don't think he's good, but because I think teams that can allow their quarterback to sit for a little bit have an edge on the rest of the league.
Yeah, I do. I think he should sit a little bit too. But and then maybe mix him in the run game in the red zone, like do things like that with JJ because he's a tough guy like that. But I do like him as a prospect, and I think at 13 you definitely want to get him because even if because if Drake May or any of those guys even fall past 3, let's say the Patriots decide to take Marvin Harrison or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Falcons and the Vikings and the Broncos are going to trade up to get him.
Let's
keep it real. Yeah, I think teams are going to try to get Drake May just because of some of the talent he has. It's a lesser Sean Payton because I guess Sean Payton really likes him too. So that's going to be who the Raiders have to worry about if they really want him is Sean Payton because Sean Payton's a big JJ McCarthy fan. So
yeah, and I will say this: picture a scenario here. The Raiders draft JJ McCarthy whenever in the first round, but let's say 13. That's the scenario you post. You trade for a Brandon Ayuk who just eats over the middle of the field, great route runner, kind of a legit kind of intermediate kind of route runner. And then you have your Devontae Adams, who you absolutely still has something left in the tank. Michael Mayer, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker. Perhaps you go find a cheaper veteran speed option. And all of a sudden, this is a really good scenario for a rookie quarterback. You bring Jacobs back on the franchise tag. If you're drafting the rookie quarterback, I'm fine with bringing Jacobs back on the franchise tag. And you make some savvy moves on the offensive line. Like this is a good team right away if that happens.
Yeah.
Even if Aiden's starting, like right away, there's something there, something as fans where we can be like, wow, they're building something really cool here and something where the teams fear playing them because they're bruised on the way home, on the flight home from Vegas. It's. I think JJ's got that. I think Daniels has that. I think Daniels just has that explosive playing, indoor football for 9 games out of the year. I like that. Daniels is still my QB1, and Caleb's there too. But I like JJ.
Yeah. So, any pro comps for JJ? This has been tough for me. With his pro comps, it's been tough for me for all these guys except for Caleb. To me, is Russell Wilson more than he is Patrick Mahomes. So I feel like he's more Russ, because Russ was better in the pocket than Mahomes was coming out. Mahomes was not a pocket passer at all. He didn't like it there. He didn't feel comfortable in it. But Russell Wilson was more of that coming out of Wisconsin. He was more like Caleb Williams was if you go back that far. But JJ, I'm trying to think, man.
I got one for you.
See, because the one I have, people aren't going to like. They're going to be like, why are you going to say that? But go ahead, Glenn.
So this is a guy. I'm just looking at height and weight and arm.
Okay.
I'm not saying he's going to be this good because this guy was a hell of a player. And if you're an older Raider fan, you understand how good this guy was. Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly. Wow.
6'3", 217.
Yeah.
Jim Kelly. It's just I'm talking about that cannon. I'm talking about that gritty. Look, Jim Kelly was a baller, man. Like he was a baller. And I'm not saying he becomes Jim Kelly. What I mean is just like when I draft him, I'm hoping that's what I get. And I think he's quick. I think he's quick. I like him, man. And he can extend the play. Jim Kelly would extend the play a little bit back in the day.
The thing is with Jim Kelly, man, he has the most postseason interceptions and turnovers.
Whatever. We're in the playoffs, Marcus. Jesus. Yeah. Playoffs. Yeah.
I just said my brother's watching. He's a Bills fan. I just want to let him know that he has 28 interceptions in the playoffs. Like,
Look,
something.
we cross that bridge when we get there. I'm like, man, playoff interceptions. That sounds amazing. Yeah.
That's a great stat. I went 28. I mean, that is a lot of playoff games, right? I guess you can look at that.
Oh man, no, I mean Thurman Thomas. They had a team. That's what Jim Kelly had a team, and I think that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to build this big.
Then they get the Super Bowl and just turn the ball over 7 times.
I know. Then we have a new kind of misery that we couldn't even fathom. H.P. Lovecraft opening the wrong book in a temple somewhere.
I couldn't even imagine as a fan losing 4 Super Bowls in a row as a fan. I couldn't even imagine that. That's just
no. That's worse. I would rather straight up lose every game and just not care and read more books. That's what I would.
Especially like when half the time you're like favored. Like the first time they're like the best team in football, and then the second time they're playing, oh, it's the Reds.
And they lost in every fashion. They got blown out. Scott Norwood wide right. Every kind of loss happened. It wasn't like they lost close games every time to where you could expect it. It was like, oh man, no, we got these guys. Dallas, the Leon Lett, like the funny, like
they were supposed to beat Dallas the first time too. Everybody's like, they're gonna beat Dallas to the veterans, and Dallas beat them like 56 to like 20.
Yeah, I'm saying people are talking about JJ McCarthy as a game manager. I think he's got explosive traits. That's why I like him.
Because this is one of my comps that bother people because my comp really is Alex Smith. So
that's Bo Nix, dude.
No, because to be fair, Alex Smith was the #1 draft pick in football. Okay, so let's to be fair, he was the #1 pick in the draft.
That was the spread coming into the
But
college.
McCarthy has kind of the same skill set with a better arm.
A way better arm. I mean, Alex Smith was not throwing off platform like JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, but to me, it feels like if Alex Smith was like an upgrade. And it's bad saying that because the way Alex Smith's career ended up,
he would have 3 Super Bowls. Alex Smith had an upgrade.
He refused to throw deep.
Yeah,
right.
Oh, that part I get. But if Alex Smith had JJ McCarthy's, Alex Smith had a little bit of athleticism, but like if he had the arm,
good arm too.
No, he had a good arm, but he was not throwing off platform, making these crazy big plays the way JJ can go. Alex Smith would have rings right now if that was the case.
Because Alex was just, he's the game manager. You put game manager inside of a thing. That's him. But I still think as a talent coming out of Utah, is a different look. So when I say like draft comp, that's what I mean. Because I think a lot of people, when they give draft comps, they like give him to the guy where he is like 9 years in the league. I'm talking about like Alex Smith coming out of Utah.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
The athleticism, the arm talent, who went #1 in the draft. So like that's my thing. So when I say that, I know people are like, oh yeah, he's the game manager type, but Alex Smith, I mean, he's basically the inventor of the spread. I mean, kind of with Urban Meyer. So
Urban Meyer, yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm a JJ guy though. Like if they go get JJ, it's gonna be interesting if you trade that many picks for him. But if he's there even within, if to go from 13 to 8, that's what I really want to know. To go from 13 to 6 is what I want to know what the price is. Not 13 to 3. Yeah, 13 to 6.
So free agent QBs, you guys will want the most if we went that route.
For me, I would say, Kirk Cousins is #1 on the free agents for me.
Yeah, but Kirk Cousins so much money. I guess they have the cap space with giving Garoppolo. They went to 48. Garoppolo's gonna be free up 11, so they're gonna be at 59. They have the money for Kirk Cousins.
Then you take Fashanu at 13. Damn, are we cooking, Marcus? If we do that, are we cooking?
Yeah. See, the thing is with Kirk Cousins, and as much as I like Kirk Cousins, is people do their tiers of quarterbacks, and I tier him in the boneheads, which is he's just going to do something really stupid when you don't want him to, and that's my thing with Kirk Cousins. It's going to be like great throws, and then we're in the playoffs, and he just does something stupid as hell, and you're like, why did you do that? And that's what Kirk Cousins is. So that's my thing of giving him $40 million, because it's just those moments, and it's kind of like Derek Carr. It's just those moments where you're like, what the fuck, Derek? And you can be like, what the fuck, Kirk? And that's what's is going to come with Kirk Cousins. But there's going to be a lot of great play. Adams is going to ball. Myers is going to ball. I mean,
Michael
Michael
Mayer.
Mayer, ball.
I just see him
Everybody
as
was
that
ball.
distributor, that point guard, that good point guard. And to be honest, Kirk Cousins has not had a run game in a long time.
Yes, I understand that, but it's just like the fourth and when it was 4th and 5 or 4th and 9, he
There's a
put short
ceiling.
of
There's a ceiling with Kirk Cousins. No,
no
agreed.
Kirk. I don't care what pressure. You just got to throw it up to Justin. I mean, you did it. You did it against the Bills the same year. Just throw it up to him.
But who do you take? The question was free agents.
I know. The other one is Russ, which I would take. Which I know other people don't want to. But I think Russ is a guy that you can draft somebody with because he's older and he's kind of on the back end of his career. I feel like Kirk Cousins is getting old, but getting better. So you're going to invest in Kirk too. And it's just the bonehead stuff. That's the thing with Kirk Cousins is I know I'm going to get something boneheaded. I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen in the playoffs. I don't know if it's going to happen week 7. It's going to be something that she'd be like, what the fuck, Kirk? And that's my thing. So,
well, no, I don't want them to go the free agent route, but yeah, exactly.
Do I think JJ McCarthy would be a good pro quarterback in the right system?
Yes,
I think so.
This system. Yeah. I think it's this system. I think it's the league system.
JJ even paid. JJ getting paid, or kind of answer that question. Let's see. Could Tom T knock out the park with a QB? And fucking about the running back front.
I think I don't think I think he's gonna franchise tag Jacobs as a concession to AP, as kind of yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's a good question though. Do you think Jacobs takes less money than he was asking for last offseason because of the fall off or because of the AP being coach?
No, not at all.
He'd probably take at least a franchise tag, right?
He would he would sign the franchise tag. He would be a diva about it. But I don't think these guys have agents, man. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So linebacker this is a good question too.
Agreed.
Okay. All right, so it's gonna get tough. So the draft is not a lot of good linebackers. I mean, have you heard about a linebacker in the draft? Let me ask you guys that.
Jeremiah Trotter's kid, which just made me feel old. That's all it is.
And I think there's some other guy. I don't know who it is. But how many off-ball linebackers have you heard about in the draft? None, right?
Great.
I mean,
not great.
So, I mean, there's upgrades. There's Patrick Queens. Those guys are going to cost a lot of money. But you have to think about Robert Spillane was a 2-year guy. They like Robert Spillane. Yeah. They like Devon Diablo.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be the same running back room. It might not get that much different. Maybe they add Patrick Queen or somebody big. But, I mean, the draft, I mean, it's Jeremiah Trotter or bust. So, and maybe I'm wrong. I haven't gotten to the linebackers yet. But you just haven't heard a lot of buzz about linebackers. So.
I think it'll be veteran. I think it'll be veteran at that point. I think, to me, I go see what, hey, Bobby Wagner, do you want a 1-year, $10 million deal? What do you think? Like somebody like that. Like add them to Spillane, Diablo. Like I think the linebacker core, I mean, you want to talk about a position group that outperformed what every Raider fan thought last year was the linebacker core, straight up. Like, nobody was more wrong than Raider Nation on the linebackers from last year. But Bobby Wagner, Levante David, Denzel Perryman, you want to come back? I don't know. Any of these guys, Zach Cunningham, these guys are free agents. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that are free agents. Shaq Leonard, do you want to take a chance on that? There's no, are any of these names going to get you super excited? No, but I don't think they need this like Roquan Smith level addition to the middle of their field or linebacker anywhere. Quan Alexander, there's a lot of guys that you can come bring in to add to a group that looked like they did pretty well in Patrick Graham's system last year.
Yeah, man. So
I'd go veteran. It's not something I'd go seek out in the draft. I'd probably pass on most of it this year until day 3, unless there's a guy at day 3 that you love.
Why? Because nepotism. I saw somebody say.
Yeah, you give your son a job. It's offensive assistant. It's a fake job. I hate to break it to you guys. I'm not saying it's a fake job, but it's like they're laundering him on the staff.
He's a stat guy, the quality control coach.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Cedric Gray. We got some linebackers. We got some shout outs. All right, so Peyton Wilson. Yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy I saw on Darren Jeremiah. Besides Trotter, was Peyton Wilson.
Peyton Wilson.
from NC State.
I don't want
So
to
that's
take one early though. I'd be a little mad if they took a linebacker early, to be honest.
Is Jeremy Chin on the? Is he a free agent for real?
Jeremy Chin as a Julius Peppers is a crazy. I mean, what do you mean?
He said Jabril. He meant Jabril.
Yeah, okay, got yes. At that point, yeah, I was like, no.
But yeah, Jeremy Chin's really good. Is he a free agent
Yeah.
for real? I haven't looked
Jeremy
into that.
Chin, he could be. No, or he might be available. Carolina might be doing a little fire sale this year. I could see, but Jeremy Chin, I will look that up right now. He could be because what was he, a second round? Yeah, no, he is. That's interesting. And he's a guy that he fits. He's hard nosed. He plays.
Yeah, I mean, I like that. I would like Jeremy Chin a lot.
Yeah, Jeremy Chin is a free agent. Now, I think the Raiders did a good job at safety. The last year, I think Merrick's good. I could see Merrick even getting an extension at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a really good player, but Epps was only a 2-year deal.
Yeah,
and it was last year. So if you bring Chin in on a 3-year deal, and no, it's interesting. I haven't thought about that in a while. That was a really good question. Yeah, interesting. Stagger, so you're not left without a safety at that point. You know?
And he could be dime linebacker, bro. He could play dime linebacker.
Exactly. Allows you to be multiple. Patrick Graham doesn't really have that like true this is my defense kind of thing. A very good question. Thank you.
Yeah, seriously. Because even if he's like Jabril Peppers, right, which
he's a different. I feel like he's a bit different than Jabril.
Yeah, but Patrick Graham had Jabril Peppers, right?
Yep.
So
right. Chest piece.
Peppers had his best seasons under Graham too. So did Lil Williams.
I like that.
I kind of feel like there's a couple guys. I feel like Lil Williams is probably going to come to the Raiders. I feel like there's a big chance of that because just that connection, and he did have his best years with Patrick Graham. Seriously.
If you left free agency and the defense added mainly, now there's going to be some guys that fill out the roster, but like if you left free agency with Leonard Williams and Jeremy Chin as your big signings, how'd you feel?
Pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, corner, you'd have a corner kind of need, but I would feel really good about what they're trying to do with those two guys. Interesting.
I think Palomar, he's only leaked 2 years though, right?
Yeah, he should
undrafted.
He should be.
I don't know how undrafted contracts go though. I mean, that might be. He might be restricted.
I thought everything was 3-year when you make a roster. I thought. I didn't think it was 2. I thought it was 3-year. Yeah.
Is Britton Brown sincere? Is Britton Brown still on the roster?
He should be. He was drafted the last year with Gruden, right?
Okay. All right. I mean, those are options.
Invite him to camp. See what happens.
I mean, Dalton Wagner, and I thought he had a good preseason, but undrafted guys just get hated on, guys. That's the thing.
They get hated on, but it's a guy. I mean, he could be he'll. I think they'll bring him back to camp. Yeah.
Okay. So they'll bring in Isaiah Simmons. He has experience with Patrick Graham. Does he? Was it
New York Giants? I don't think he has experience with Patrick.
I don't know.
No, he got traded to the Giants last year. He doesn't have experience with Patrick.
Oh, so he is okay. So yeah, Palomar. I mean, the Raiders aren't letting go Palomar though.
No, I don't. I think they liked him. He was good. I thought he definitely had a role in this team.
Oh, is it Trey Lance? Oof. No.
You get three. You can roster 3 quarterbacks, right? Without it going against your thing. Now, if Trey Lance is just sitting there for a while, look, I don't think he has no buzz right now. He did nothing in Dallas whatsoever. There was nothing. He was like, damn, he's lighting up camp, bro. The Niners stink. Like this. He lit up camp. No, so he could come in as the third guy. Absolutely, I would love. First off, wouldn't that make for a great preseason game? Like second half preseason game is just watching Trey Lance just carve up somebody in the run game. As for Raider fans, when you record the for me Cron 4 broadcast with Matt Millen and Beth Mullins, like watching Trey Lance on the keeper, do it for that reason. He stinks, though. I'm just letting everyone know he stinks.
Yeah, he does. Amik Robertson. All right, so I don't know how many questions. Probably the last one we get on here, but Amik Robertson. Do they bring Amik back? Well, I think they do because I think it'd be cheap. and he'll probably want to come back.
Yeah, sure. No, he will frustrate us. We will have Amik giveth and Amik taketh away. That's what will happen a lot. But he makes plays.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, guys. We'll be hit an hour 30 again, so we're out of here. I don't see any more questions, but we got 160 today, man. It's it's a record for us. That's
Beautiful,
awesome.
Raider Nation.
Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Everything that we did, and make sure you hit the subscribe button. Subscribe. Check out all the draft stuff for the members. I saw you guys in here. I'm gonna get some stuff up there. I apologize. Definitely just trying to get ready for the combine this week because I got the combine. I watched like 800 prospects. I think I watched like 20 tackles, and I'm on guard. It's just a lot of draft stuff. So I'm on it though. I probably get some Byron Murphy in there. I see you guys really like Byron Murphy, so I'm gonna get him in there, and then hope you guys enjoyed the show. I appreciate all the questions that you guys asked us. Got some great questions, and we'll be back. Probably won't be back next week, so I'll be at the combine. You know what I'm saying?
No,
and then,
I won't be here next week. Yeah, so 2 weeks from now, we'll have plenty to talk about.
We got you guys. All right, we're out of here. Peace.
See you guys.